just going to start at the beginning of the labor. I was 2 days overdue, and the day I went to work, went out with a friend and I had some tea, and then went and walked up at the pack for a couple miles and did everything like normal. And then that evening I was kind of feeling a couple contractions, kind of thinking, all right, this might be my last night alone. Started having strong contractions or regular contractions about 11 o'clock, and they were probably 10 to 7 minutes apart at that time. Went to bed, kind of didn't freak the husband out, kind of, because he could have been Braxton Hicks, and so just he knew that I was having some. About 3:30, when it was maybe a little bit before that, I kind of leaned over to him and I said, I don't think we're going to work tomorrow, and he thought I had said, he was thinking the next day, so he was like, okay, whatever, just snoozing, and then it kind of hit him, his eyes opened big, he's like, really? And not even 15 minutes later, my water broke, so then we had to go to the hospital, so we couldn't labor at home, but by that time, my contractions were, within 5 minutes apart anyways, so.
Can you tell me about that experience? And I guess I did not ask you, was it the trickle or a big gush like?
For me, because I was still laying in bed, and I was, like I said last time I was up here, I was prone to frequent urination, so I'm kind of like, okay, that's a feeling that I'm not quite used to, but it kind of came with a contraction, and it almost felt kind of bubbly, and I'm like, all right, so I actually got up really quick, made it downstairs, and then it wasn't a huge gush, but it was definitely enough to know that was not just me peeing my pants. So, yeah.
I didn't ever have, because I didn't have any amniotic fluid, I never had a gush of fluids or anything. So that's why I didn't know if it was really labor or not. So,
yeah. So, at that point in time, we went to the hospital. We were completely admitted by about 4:30, and then it was a long haul after that. Her heart rate was actually a little lower than they would have liked, and plus with my water breaking, they made me stay in bed with the monitors on until the doctor got there about 9:30 that morning. Had to lay on my left side because of the heart rate and whatnot. We think she loves her hands and sticks her hands in her mouth and sucks on them all the time. So we think that her hand was kind of pushing on the umbilical cord and causing some of that. So finally got the okay to get up and walk, which kind of brought the contractions on even stronger. We were fortunate that we do have family in town, but when you're in labor and when you're in that much pain, you don't really want to be around anyone. You want your husband to possibly hit if the moment comes. No.
Or choke.
Yeah. I only glared at him once, and I was on a clear liquid diet, and bless his heart, I told him he could go get lunch, and he's sitting there eating, and then I happened to turn around, and he had gotten cake too. I was like, really? You could have forgotten the dessert, but that's okay. So I glared at him at that point in time. But I did end up getting an epidural. I kind of had left it up in the air of whether or not I wanted to or not. After being in labor for, I guess it was about 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening when I had gotten the epidural, I was at between a 5 and a 6. And at that point in time, 5 or 6, when you're having contractions every 3 minutes or less, it's kind of like, all right, let's figure this out. So I'm glad I did. It definitely, after I did, it brought her heart rate back up because I was able to relax and whatnot. So I wasn't able to get out of the bed at that point in time, but I was able to not be on my side. So yeah, and then there was actually another OB in the hospital at the same time with the same doctor. So it was kind of a competition the entire time of who was going to go first. And we actually both hit completion at the same time. And she had missed her window for an epidural. She didn't want one, but then changed her mind while it was too late. So she got the honors of going first because of that. So they kind of held me off on pushing for a little while, and then it was like, no, I need to push. So I had a couple of nurses in there, which was great and all, but they're not, as experienced as the doctor at pushing and whatnot. So I ended up pushing an hour, more bearing down, straight down versus out. My doctor came over, watched me push one time and said, "Oh, honey, push this way." And then I went a lot faster. So I pushed for 2 hours completely. I would have to agree, though. I mean, other than the fact it was mentally exhausting to push that long, and like knowing that I had pushed an hour the wrong way, I definitely think the contractions were more so. The only other thing that I really, and this is vividly in my mind, I did tear. I have a 2nd-degree tear. That more so than anything was extremely painful. I didn't know this at the time, but Jared and I were just talking. Apparently, she tries to get the head, and she's working to get her head out, and then I guess I started tearing, so she had needles right there and just started shoving them in just to try and numb me up enough so that when it was happening, I didn't realize that because there was so much pain from the ripping that I didn't even know there was needles being shoved down there to try and numb things up. But I figured it was a pretty good tear because there was a lot of stitches. You're kind of focused on your child, but at the same time I'm like, you're doing this a lot. And she had a med student in there, so she was talking him through it, and she, okay, you do this way, and then you do this, and then you do this, and I'm going, holy cow, I didn't know there was that much surface area down there, but I don't know. But she's definitely worth it. She came out 7 pounds, 11 ounces and a half. They had us guess after she came out how much she weighed. My husband guessed 7'11", I guessed 7'12", so we split the difference. She's an extremely good baby. She latched on right away, first try, no problem. She actually wasn't even fully out and was hauling up a storm, so the nurses got such a kick out of that. And everybody loves her hair. It's actually kind of curly when it's wet, so I'm interested to see if it progresses to kind of a wavy, curly baby hair, but we'll see.
Goodness.
So,
How about waiting? Did they check, and were you dismissed the very next day?
She was born at 10:53 on Wednesday, so we were there all of Thursday, and then we left 2 o'clock on Friday, so a day and a half. When we left the hospital, she was 7'4", and actually Monday we had a well baby visit, and she had already gained a couple of ounces already, so she's doing really good. That more than anything, I had no problem with my milk coming in. I've actually dealt with too much, so I've been having to pump. The whole engorgement thing, and my husband at one point in time, and bless his heart, he goes, I did not know they could get that big. Black and, the bruising because of so much pressure and swelling, and he just kind of goes, oh. I think he has new appreciation for everything that she.
Jody, you also have the dairy allergy.
Yes.
So instead of consuming a lot of milk, what are the alternatives that help you to produce milk as well as you do?
Well, I just eat a healthy diet. We do a lot of coconut milk or coconut products instead of the dairy. I also am a little sensitive to soy and don't love the idea of soy anyways, so I stay away from soy. And she's such a good eater and a latcher on that I haven't had to really worry about that, but with her stomach being so small, that's why I was able to pump. And I actually have the backpack version
Oh,
of that.
you like it?
I need to get a bra, so because even with the suction, it's still kind of awkward to be like, all right, let's hang out here. So, let's see. She already has tons and tons of nicknames. She has a little bit of a squeak when she cries. It's actually, you hate to cry when your baby's, laugh when your baby's crying, but some of it is kind of funny, and you know that they're not really like in danger or anything. They're just, a little cranky because they're getting their pants changed or something. And so she's Squeaker, she's Chickmunk for her cheeks, and all kinds of fun nicknames. So I think I really enjoyed watching my husband interact with her, and I knew he'd be a good father, but holy cow, like he's really, really taken on fatherhood and just really embraces her. And actually, at one point in time, I've been pretty good. I haven't really experienced the whole postpartum blues, but I did have a really bad headache yesterday, and then I'm watching her, my husband with her, and he was all hands-on, and I'm like, and why can't I receive this service? And so I had a poor me moment, and overwhelmed with, this kid needs fed, all the time. I don't feel good. When is this? My whole life's changed.
Does he do the poop diapers?
He does. We have a Moses basket in our bedroom, and it's on his side of the bed, or the bedroom. That was planned. And so he will get her up, get her ready to breastfeed, change the diapers. He burps her and holds her up for she has a little bit of spit up issues yet because of her stomach size and how much milk I produce. That actually, when we left the hospital, they told us to do 15 minutes on each side. And it was really difficult for me because I'm watching her spit up so much. So we actually decreased that and have had much better luck. So, but he takes care of all that. He's definitely changed more diapers than I have. So it's just how it's worked out.
I was going to ask about that weight loss and the first really nasty one. Were you the person who experienced the meconium in the womb? They're swallowing some of the amniotic fluid. They're getting what you eat, and their elimination is somewhat restricted until they have popped out into the world. And sometimes that first nasty poop is right away. In fact, I guess my granddaughter sort of initiated the doctor. Did not make friends, but saved mom and dad the burden of that first nasty diaper. But that's where they can lose 6 ounces, 8 ounces instantly. I thought my son was dying. He looked like he was convulsing, and there was just enormous amounts of black tarry looking stuff. It was like, you've ever squeezed a grease gun and lubed up some,
And it sticks to the butt cheeks like none other. It's like you almost need a fingernail to scrape it off. It's kind of gross.
Did any of you guys try the olive oil trick for it?
Have not.
No, I didn't know
I didn't
that.
realize that.
Well, when I was reading online, they said that olive oil is what will remove it the best.
Huh.
No, I didn't know
Well,
that.
thank goodness.
Little late.
My husband Jared, he was like, this changes, right? She did, it was initial, but then it was, the first couple of days, it was more the meconium. And now it's definitely the breastfed, loose CD. She's getting a little bit more girth to her poo now, so definitely progressing. So, and you exactly right with the CD kind of cottage cheese, yellowy. Yep, that's exactly what it looks like.
is healthy in a breastfed baby.
Yeah. She's such a content, happy baby. You can really get her going. She
Way to go.
she doesn't like being cold. Not really when the diaper changes is probably the biggest time. Or if mom was not, right there to feed her right when she decides, she definitely has an opinion that way. So she squeaks pretty good then, but other than that, I mean, she's pretty chill. So she is starting to wake up a little bit more, and I'm amazed at how much she tracks and just looks around and doesn't fuss, but just kind of is observing everything and just big eyes. Yeah. So I thought about coming in sweatpants and like a whole messy bun and just to be like, I don't know, guys, don't do it. But
How much did you feel like that, though?
You look wonderful, both of you. I'm just impressed and brave to bring these little fellas out, on such a cold day. But a lot of times, getting used to traveling, spending short amounts of time and then bigger amounts of time in a car seat is good conditioning, good training, so that when you want to or need to make some journeys, they're okay with it.
yeah, we definitely. She's a princess, but we don't want her acting like a princess. So we're trying to kind of straddle that line of yes, you're special, and yes, we'll come cater to you, but not to expect extreme measures to be taken and whatnot. So trying to figure out those ropes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no pin for Jerry.
You don't have to go back to work right away, but you may ease in some part-time.
Yeah, I'm taking 2 weeks off straight, and then I'll be back in a few hours a week. So already stopped by just to say hi, and they were having a drama moment. I'm like, okay, see you guys. Have fun with that. So I was like, all right. But no, it'll be good. And yeah, we got our 1 week appointment tomorrow. So tomorrow. See how that goes.
We didn't talk a lot about childcare, but if you are easing back to work, have you made advanced plans for infant childcare? Actually, that's pretty difficult to find your child.
It is my initial plan for when I go back to work. The day of my due date, actually, I found out that it's not going to work. So I was like, okay, it's okay. I just have bigger things to think about. So we do have a plan B in place, but we're hoping for a new plan A. So we have Jared's stepmother in town, so she's been head over heels for her, so she'll be watching her some too. So we definitely have people we can call on if we need. So yeah. So
yeah. You may not think about it, but a lot of times before a couple gets pregnant, if you're in a large community, the other thing is selecting a doctor. There are limits to the number of gynecological patients that each doctor can have based on the limit of their malpractice insurance, because it is the most frequently claimed. Is childbirth or whatever. And in this community, folks are pretty fortunate to have not just one but several general practitioners who do delivery and aftercare for babies. But if mom or baby would need a specialist, traveling at least 100 miles, and then sometimes they already have a full practice. They may not be able to take on a new patient. If you move into an urban area, it's probably a good idea to have that good health check before you consider having a baby. And it's also an appropriate time to start looking at child care. In Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where the average age is somewhere between 30 and 35, everybody's having babies. And what parents there say is you want to not only pick your child care and have your date in or your request in a year in advance, but start looking at school. If you've got a preference about the kind of education your child will have in preschool and kindergarten, have your name on the waiting list. It's just that. You might not have thought about that one, but.
And also, like I said last time, staying in good shape, take your prenatal vitamins. I've been taking them for probably a good 2-3 years now. So just anticipation for, being as healthy as possible, and it will make your pregnancy smoother if you're healthier to begin with. So.
Well, folks, I know you gotta go, and we better go, but thank you.